So we might have a Microsoft and Xbox are looking at a possible crinkle in their big plans to acquire Activision, considering the FTC is reportedly likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block the Microsoft and Activision deal, another potential bump in the road for the $68.7 million deal. Well, I think was it million or was it billion? Yeah, it was $1 billion deal. So you have some issues here. One, in this article, and we'll go through it, they don't really point to any logical reasons for the deal not to go through besides complaints from Sony and Google, which are competitors to Xbox and Microsoft. But at the same time, you have to take into account that Sony and Google and Tencent also have massive, basically, monopolies on their IPs and development companies. So there's things all around. I don't really think... I think it should be careful to throw stones at glass houses. I think that's the term that we need to be doing here, because be careful to throw stones at glass houses, around glass houses, because also Sony and Google and Tencent are practically monopolies that if the FTC so wishes, they could also be looking into them. So maybe don't be complaining. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, is reportedly likely, it's not definitive, but likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block the $68.7 billion deal that would see Microsoft acquire Activision Blizzard. That likely is doing a whole lot of lifting there because it's still not set in stone. We don't know if it's going to happen. We know the FTC, I did a video the other day, the FTC is going through a lot of stuff. So who knows what's going to happen here. As reported by Politico, you can always trust Politico, this news comes by the way of 3 people with knowledge of the matter, and they stress the lawsuit is not guaranteed. Again, this is all speculation, but it is something to take into account that, again, like I said with my video around, it was Disney acquiring Apple. Well, no, Apple being sold to Disney, potentially. That's a potential that's not confirmed. The FTC's on a rampage, essentially. They're going through every little thing with a fine-tooth comb, and that's what you do in these acquisitions. So the FTC's 4 commissioners haven't taken the time to vote out a complaint or even meet with the lawyers from Microsoft and Activision, but the FTC staff reviewing the deal are skeptical of the company's arguments. I don't think it's a big deal, to be perfectly honest. I don't think Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard is going to be stopped. It could. It very easily could, because this is a world filled with random stuff. It easily could be blocked, and I would laugh all the way home. But the main reason people are concerned is because Call of Duty is such a big game. That's really it. They don't care about anything else but Call of Duty. Excuse me. Skeptical of the company's arguments. As for where the deal stands, much of the heavy lifting has been completed, including depositions of Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, interesting name, and Activision CEO Bobby Kotick. I knew that name. Bobby Kotick, who's in his own bit of controversy, but what's going on there is a whole other situation. This means a decision on a potential antitrust lawsuit could arrive as soon as December. That's basically a few weeks away. December starts up. If we don't see it, it doesn't happen. Granted, again, the FTC's weird. Governments are slow moving. What's going to happen is going to happen. They're going to have to work through it. Do I think it's going to get blocked? Not really, but it's always a possibility. You'll always have to keep that possibility out there. The main crux of the problem, according to the FTC, is some worry this deal will give Microsoft an unfair boost in the video game market. Not really. Sony has obviously been one of the biggest opponents against the deal, and the question of where Call of Duty will appear has been one of the hottest topics. And that's where a lot of this crux comes from. People are worried what's going to happen with Call of Duty. It's very simple. Just simply say, hey, it's going to be cross-platform constantly. Now, there's a question of should people be paying Microsoft for Call of Duty if they want to play it on Sony, on a PlayStation? I don't know if that's actually illegal. I highly doubt it is. I mean, people pay other companies to play on on different platforms all the time. I don't see any problem with this. Heck, I have Skyrim for my Switch just because I like playing Skyrim a lot. Is it really good for my Switch? No. But I still play Skyrim on my Switch from time to time. I had to pay Microsoft for that. It's not a huge deal. When you make this happens all the time. Sony's just people are just scared that Microsoft might potentially make Call of Duty a single platform. Essentially lock it out of the market and you have to pay for Xbox in order to play it. But who knows what's going to happen there. I highly doubt it. It's a better move to keep it cross-platform. Despite Xbox head Phil Spencer stating, Call of Duty will continue to ship on PlayStation as long as there's a PlayStation to ship to. It's not rocket science. That guarantees more money and is a bigger FU to Sony, really. There are still concerns with what other issues this deal may create. Sony has previously said that Microsoft is a tech titan buying up irreplaceable content at incontestable prices, $68.7 billion to tip competition to itself. There's an argument to be made there, but what were the last big purchases Microsoft made? They're trying to get Activision Blizzard. They purchased Bethesda. I'm trying to think if they have access to Rare, but I don't know if they've actually purchased Rare. Do I think these moves are going to be setting Microsoft up to be this massive industry giant that is going to stagnate the gaming company and be a monopoly? No. You still got Valve. You still got the PC master race. You still got Sony, who has access to God of War, which is going to be the game of the year. Let's be real. For the past several years, Sony has had the game of the year game. So Sony coming out and being like, well, that's going to make them this mega multi-billion-dollar monopoly that we can't compete with. No. No, you still have God of War. You still have Ghost of Tsushima. You're still going to be probably number one in the story-based video games. I'm a Switch boy myself. I do have an Xbox, but that was because I have more friends on Xbox at a time. Now I do Switch and PC and Xbox, and I would like a PlayStation, but I'll get one when I get one. There are concerns beyond Call of Duty, however, as there is worry what future mega hit titles will do to tip the scales if they are locked behind one platform. And that's not fair. That's not fair to say. Because we have a mega hit sale going on right now on 2 different platforms. Pokemon, Switch. I just did a video on that. That's 10 million That's 10 million sold in 3 days for a single platform title. God of War, the latest God of War game, Ragnarok, is set to become Game of the Year. It's basically confirmed that it's going to be Game of the Year. You can't beat God of War. It has already sold more titles in its first week than the previous God of War. So you can't say that. Sony still has the biggest games. Microsoft is just going to potentially have the most games. So that's not a fair comparison to make. Google is also said to be against the deal, claiming Microsoft has purposely degraded the quality of its Game Pass subscription service when used with Google Chrome's operating system. That I don't know if that's true. That would be some other issues that you really need to go look into. Now, there were claims that Microsoft was doing this with Minecraft back when it purchased. Oh yeah, it did purchase Mojang, didn't it? Well, there was claims about this for PlayStation back then, but nothing ever came of that. So you're gonna have to do a bigger investigation other than just levy accusations that they're basically purposely messing up their stuff because it's not theirs. So that's an accusation that needs to be investigated. If the deal were to go through, it believes it would further Microsoft's incentive to do so. How do you know that? I don't see any reason for that to even be the case. I mean, it would further the incentive to make everything work perfectly so that more people can purchase the game. I mean, that's business 101. Make sure everything's working fine. You guys are just scared that Microsoft's gonna have lock Call of Duty behind the bar. That's all these complaints constantly are, is they're scared of Call of Duty. Microsoft has disputed many of these claims and acknowledges that even after the deal closes, it would still be in third place. And yes, it really would be. We can't ignore the fact, and I believe they have it right here. Yeah, they say it right here. We'll still trail Sony and Tencent in the market after the deal closes. And together, Activision and Xbox will benefit gamers and developers and make the industry more competitive, Microsoft spokesperson David Coody said. And that's true, 100%. All this is doing is spicing up the industry a bit. Sony still has God of War. Sony still has massive deals with Square Enix. And on top of that, you have the PC Master Race. You have Steam. You have all these other areas to purchase games from. It's not just Microsoft and PlayStation. In fact, PC is the biggest competitor to all these companies. They also don't count in Switch, but the Switch Nintendo only deals with Nintendo, really. It is never counted in these competitions. But when you take a look at Tencent has its fingers everywhere. Tencent is the video game monopoly. And nobody wants to go looking into that because, well, that wouldn't be politically correct. Now, would it? You and the chat-coms. But Xbox is still, all they're doing is getting a new developer. Comes with massive pull because a lot of they'll have a bunch of new titles to grab from, but that doesn't change anything. PlayStation still has the biggest game essentially in God of War, and whatever they do there is interesting. You still have I just have it. Ubisoft is still free. Ubisoft's still putting out games. There's other platforms and there's other consoles, there's other platforms, there's other developers, there's other people out there still in the marketplace creating stuff. So this is not going to be some sort of monopoly being created out of thin air. Now, that is a fear that it could be. I highly doubt it in this situation. Alongside the FTC, regulators in Europe and the UK have also launched in-depth probes, meaning the deal likely won't close until spring at the earliest. Microsoft and Activision have until July 2023 to close the deal, or they will have to renegotiate, couldn't say that, the agreement. And I think it's still going to go through. It'll probably be done by March or April, sometime there. I don't see anybody coming in with a last-minute bid to say, well, we disagree. Because there's still several industries left. We are nowhere near the level of Hollywood, where Disney has so many of the studios. We have different studios all over the place. Again, technically, Game Freak, I like to go to Pokemon for this. Game Freak works hand in hand with Nintendo Company, but Game Freak really is just third-partied out through the Pokemon company. Pokemon is not Nintendo. Pokemon's its own thing. It just works with Nintendo. It's something completely different. So you still have tons of competition in the game space. I don't see a monopoly coming here. Could the FTC sue? Yes. Will it? I doubt it. I don't see any purpose for it to sue. I don't see any reasoning for it to sue. And like I said, Sony really is just getting all these platforms are getting a stick up their butt because they don't want Call of Duty to be on just the Xbox, really, but there's no reason for it to be solely Xbox. It should be everywhere. But let me get your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that there's going to be a lawsuit? That's the question. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell for every time I put a new video out and go live. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.